propaganda by the other side. Now, does that mean it'll be easy? No. There's lots of things that I don't agree with what they do. I don't agree with attacks on civilians, whether they be Israeli or Palestinian. And there's lots of stuff to be done. But that's what I learned. By listening to people, by challenging their views, I got a much deeper understanding.
Maybe a couple more questions.
By your definition of terrorism and of terrorists, which of the 6 leaders that you interviewed would you classify as terrorists?
Everybody here? The 6 I interviewed, who would I call terrorists? That's the secret of the book. None of them. No, you could argue that at one time or another they had engaged in terrorist tactics. None of them are that today. Gula Cohen, I think I mentioned the Israeli leader, another along the lines of people, things I learned. Fascinating person, 83 years old. She was a member of Lehi or the Stern Gang before 1948. She's never, in her view, she's never done anything wrong politically. She didn't have a single regret, a single position that she didn't take. The name of her, in case you wonder whether you should call her a terrorist or not, the name of her autobiography published in English in the United States in 1966 was Memoirs of a Young Israeli Terrorist. So the early Zionists killed British, blew up hotels in which British officers were staying, like the David Hotel. They killed the top mediator for the UN, assassinated him with a submachine gun. They planted bombs on Arab street corners to blow up civilians. Those were clear terrorist tactics. The Palestinians did the same. They carried out terrorist tactics against Israelis as well. So, and today, all of those terrorist leaders that engaged in those tactics are honored members of Israeli society. Abraham Stern, the head of the Stern Gang, has 2 streets named after him, one in Tel Aviv and one in Jerusalem.
But it doesn't follow from that they're not terrorists.
Oh, absolutely. They were terrorists in their day.
Whether they're not, I mean, do you think that Obama's a terrorist?
See, this is the problem. No, to answer your question, I don't think he's a terrorist. I don't think it does any good to label somebody a terrorist because I don't think that's at the core of what the problem with Obama's policies are. The U.S., including President Obama, used terrorist tactics. Hamas uses terrorist tactics. That doesn't make either one of them terrorist organizations. The United States government is an imperialist government that has expanded its reach throughout the world, that engages in war crimes, that uses terrorist tactics. But I don't think it does any good to try to throw the label on terrorists. It just doesn't mean anything anymore.
My question is, if we switch to alternative energy and we cut off the funding to the Middle East, do you think it would change the way we perceive terrorism and the focus we've given it today?
Well, a lot of alternative energy requires lithium, right? Like for batteries, for car batteries, for electric cars. There'd be new wars over lithium. Yeah, no. The nature of the empire is at one time you had to have control islands and parts of the world for coaling stations for your navy. So that's how Guantanamo in Cuba, for example, first got seized from the Cuban government, was because they needed it as a coaling station. But over the years, they haven't given it up, and coal, as far as I know, they don't need coal for their ships anymore. I'm a full supporter of alternative energy. I think we need that for all kinds of reasons, for the environment, for reducing greenhouse gas emissions, et cetera, et cetera. But it won't change the nature of the empire. It'll just shift. Maybe the Middle East won't quite be as important, and other parts of the world will be.
This seems like sort of an obvious question, but what are the Obama administration's main motivations or justifications for staying in Iraq and Afghanistan, given the logical arguments that you've just told us?
Yeah. Okay. I think they're slightly different for Iraq and Afghanistan. In the case of Iraq, I think Obama has said publicly that it was a mistake to go in, and